This looks like the place. This local joint was started by a recovering lawyer and beer aficionado. He decided to stop being a lawyer and doing all that legal stuff and pursue something that he really enjoyed, and that's brewing beer. Welcome to Smartmouth Brewing. Porter Hardy!
Tuba, good to see you.
How you doing? You already got my call sign down. Awesome, great.
I had some forewarning.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. We're really excited.
I want to talk about the process of making beer. I'd like to see your setup, but first of all, I'm more excited for one of these.
Yeah, let's get a beer and we'll go.
All right, let's do it.
Here's a glass of amber. Let me show you around.
Wow, that looks tasty. Let's do it.
Here, let's go on back.
Awesome. You've poured us an amber here. Can you tell us a little bit on how you get this wonderful dark color into this beer?
Sure. And our amber runs a little bit on the dark side of ambers. This is, of our 3 beers, this is our malty beer. We have an IPA, which is our hoppy beer. We have an American Amber, this beer, which is our malty beer, and we have a Saison, which is our yeast flavor derived beer. So we try and make it so there's a beer for each person, but no one beer for everybody. So back to your question though, how do we get this color? We use a variety of roasted and toasted malts to give it sort of a bready, toasty, malty flavor.
It's definitely got a bready, toasty flavor to it.
Good.
Very pleasing to the palate, I can tell you that.
We try and keep it clean and smooth and not too bitter, not too hoppy on this one.
It's delicious. So I understand you used to be a lawyer.
Right.
And now you're pursuing your dream, which I'm sure many people have told you that they are absolutely in awe that you're doing that and they're inspired by that. So why pick this particular niche of the market?
Right, well, there's a couple reasons. There's the passionate reason, which you just have to do something you're passionate about. And that's the main driving force for me. I started homebrewing right after law school. My wife bought me my first homebrew kit right about the time my son was born. And that became really my main hobby. Whenever I was home, I was reading about beer or trying new beers or brewing beers. And so when I came to my, call it a mini midlife crisis or whatever, and decided I wanted to take a different path in life, I looked around at what I was passionate about, and it was beer and making beer, and I wanted to produce something tangible for people to enjoy.
So I've got this dark amber here.
Right.
This pairs nice with fish, is that right?
Well, this is sort of our crowd pleaser all around beer, but I would probably go Saison fish. And the amber, I would peg that as like a good burger beer. That's where I really like it, a burger or a pizza. I mean, I know it sounds sort of common and everyday, but to me, that malty sweetness combined with, you know, maybe some Swiss cheese on a burger, that hits it for me.
You gotta stop right now, because I'm ready to go.
Yep, and then the IPA, you know, classic pairing is Stilton or blue cheese in the IPA. That always works well. Ours is very dry, so any sort of sharp taste, and then the IPA can sort of cleanse your palate afterwards. So go for that. And you know, everybody likes pizza tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was gonna
or
say,
everybody should.
Pizza almost goes with all 3.
Right,
I guess.
exactly, yeah.
I guess it depends on the toppings. You kind of get down to what the toppings are,
right.
What your beer selection would be.
If you got chorizo and you want spicy, go IPA, because that bitterness enhances the spice.
That's interesting.
Yeah, IPA, a high bitter beer will make the spice even spicier.
Now, with all this equipment in here, I'm sure you didn't just purchase this on eBay or on Craigslist, but how much do you produce when you do one run, for example?
Well, when we brew one batch, it's 20 barrels, which translates into 620 gallons. So there's 31 barrels in a gallon. So we make 621 gallons every time we fire that thing up. And then we put it into either 15.5 gallon kegs or 5 gallon kegs from there.
So you roast your product there on the stand or stage back there.
Right.
How do you get it into these big bins or these big tanks to start this brewing process for the beer.
Right, well, actually it starts with a mill, and we have our own mill where we bring the grain in and the whole kernels and sacks of grain and dump them in there, and it grinds them up. And we first go to one bin over here that we call the mash tun, and mixes water and grain, and then we move it to another one where the grain sits on top of the screen. You trickle water over it and collect that sugary water on the bottom, and then we call that wort in the beer business. And so many brewing terms are German, so sometimes they're a little hard.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you move it over to another kettle where we boil it, and you boil it for about 90 minutes, and that's where you add the hops and sort of the magical cooking brewing phase.
So it looks like the witch's cauldron at that point.
Right.
It's steamy. Yeah. There's some of your smells start to develop there really nicely.
Yes. And then here we have a whirlpool, so we switch it over the whirlpool to just clean the beer up a little bit. Like when you spin a teacup, the leaves coagulate.
Yeah, pushes everything down.
Exactly.
Sure.
So we get cleaner beer by doing that. And then we run it through a heat exchanger, which knocks it down to about 68, 70 degrees, and pump it into the tanks. And the tanks are all individually temperature controlled, and we've got a big glycol thing, and it just, nice. And it just keeps it there for us.
And so they sit in the big tanks for
17, 21 days.
That's where they actually are.
Yes.
They're brewing themselves into
exactly
this fine number 9 here.
You can thank the yeast for the beer that you drink.
Absolutely.
We just try and keep them
I thank yeast
happy.
every single day. I thank yeast 2 or 3 times a day, actually. So that's a perfect segue to bring in school children in here to teach them chemistry and biology, and then drag their parents in.
That's right. It's all biology.
I think the parents might stay in the tasting room.
That's right.
But it's educational. It really is.
It is. And our timelines are somewhat determined by a living organism. So, we do our best to make it happy, and it will make good beer.
Well, you're doing an awesome job as far as I can
thank you. I appreciate it.
You gotta get some of this. Can you get some of that? Just waft that. It's fantastic. It's nice.
Smell-o-vision.
So now you get it in the big tank, and it's done with its process there. How do you get it into the kegs?
Into the kegs? Well, that's another good question. We have a separate tank called a bright beer tank. And for certain beers like the amber, we will filter the beer on the way there. Other beers like the Saison that's supposed to be very rustic and hazy, we won't. In the bright tank, we carbonate it, and then we just have an apparatus off of there that pushes it into the kegs. We hook them up. It looks like a big octopus, and you hook it up to the kegs and fill them up.
Well, Porter, thank you so much for hosting us today. This has been a real pleasure seeing the inside of really an exciting adventure here, I think, that you're embarking on.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. This was a lot of fun. And if every day could be like this, that'd be awesome.
Well, I look forward to bringing some friends down to the tasting room, and we all walk out with the growlers
well,
over
thank
our
you.
shoulders.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
All right.